So we've come to the closing session of this event, of this 48th Symposium. As we said at the start, this is an event that bridges cultures, it bridges industries, and it bridges generations. And I hope you've experienced all three of those things over these last 3 days. We've explored several questions very deeply, and I'll just very, very briefly try to summarize what happened in 3 days, and I know that means I'm going to leave 90% of it out. This first was this concept of education, learning, skills. What does it mean to be trained for the current economy, for the future economy? Who should be doing the training? When should we get that training? Who should be paying for that training? What's the relationship between that training and the employers? There's a lot of questions that remain open there. And the second is technology, and there's both promise on one hand and peril on the other. So we've talked about artificial intelligence and robots and automated transport. There are a lot of directions that that can take, and it's unclear that we have yet figured out exactly where that will go. And finally, really echoing the theme of our last topic, or our last panel, how do we include people? And inclusion has a whole range of factors and aspects. So economically, socially, geographically, men and women, people with different skills are going to be affected in different ways by the end of work. These questions have only begun to be asked over these last 3 days. I hope you've gotten some sense of how you would move to get answers towards them, and it's now your job as you go back to your countries and to your companies and to your organizations and to your universities to continue to work these things out over the next year until the next time we meet here again. As you know, this is the 48th Symposium that's been organized by the International Students Committee. As far as I know, there is no finer student-run organization in the world. There are 32 of them, and I want to invite 2 of them to come up to the stage now to share their closing thoughts, Elizabeth Burkhart and Severin Schmugi.
50 years ago, students found themselves in a time of change, in a time of uncertainty. These students from universities all around the world wanted to change the future they were facing and wanted their voices to be heard. They wanted to create an impact in the world they will continue living in. They knew that because of their young age, they did not have the power or the authority to disrupt the status quo. But there was one thing they could do. They were able to inspire the people that would be deciding on their future, to give them an idea of their vision of a better world. Half a century ago, 5 students of this university believed in this idea and founded the International Students Committee before organizing the first St. Gallen Symposium in 1970. It still amazes us today how these 5 young guys created something so unique in such a small and rural city surrounded by the Swiss mountains right next to a field of cows. How they managed to start an idea that brings the brightest talents and some of today's most senior leaders together to one table.
For half a century, you have been supporting us by coming to St. Gallen with great ideas and inputs to our topics. Each year, these topics are addressing current issues, opportunities of today's ever-changing world. And as we have seen in the past 3 days, the world is changing rapidly. For you, for us, and for the interaction between us. As you can see, I am not wearing a tie. Something that would have been called a faux pas 10 years ago. But to be honest, I am pretty happy I took it off backstage because it is quite hot up here. Apart from saying a big thank you to all the people involved directly or indirectly, we would like to use our time on stage for something else as well. We are honored to speak for our team, and we would like to share some of our thoughts. We want to show you our motivation to be a part of this amazing experience.
We know that we won't change the world by organizing this symposium, but we want to spark a fire for ideas. So we call out to you, the current and future leaders from academia, business, and politics, to take responsibility. Get involved in our dialogue towards solution, balance, and positive impact. After the remarks of the heads of our committee on Wednesday night, we really hope that you don't look back and wish that you should have, would have, or could have done something. This year, we've gathered to explore what lies beyond the end of work. Although we might not have found what actually awaits us there, we think we collected some promising ways to shape the future. And we invite you to engage in our debates and create a sustainable world beyond the end of work. This morning, Jeremy Rifkin said, "I think this industrial revolution is our last race. Either we move quickly or we're lost." We think this is more than just a wake-up call. It's a call to action.
We can create our future and the future of coming generations together with your help in the best way possible. Here at the Symposium, we want you to take this opportunity and to put in your brick in this house that we call the future. This is why we invite and select the most inspiring young talents from all around the world. This is why we have traveled to over 40 countries. And this is why we have met with you, people with an incredibly fascinating story. Because we believe in this idea. We don't want to be just a conference for you. We want you to become a friend of the Symposium and a friend of this idea of an exchange between generations.
On the other hand, we want to be honest with you. Organizing this symposium has been tough as hell. There were so many days where we were doubting ourselves and felt lost, where we were unsure if our efforts will actually be worth it in the end. There was so little sleep, and every one of us has had more than their share of tears. However, there is one way, and one way only, to survive this challenge. Together as a team, we have worked for 1 year to make this symposium happen. Some might call it friends, some call it best friends, but we'd call it ISC.
What we have created in this year is a family. We are so honored to having been given the opportunity to contribute to this idea, which has now been growing for 50 years. As we are going to finish our work in the ISC by the end of June, others will carry on. And we finally feel like we understand what one of our founders told us some time ago. You will eventually leave your ISC time behind you, but deep down, its idea will never get out of your mind. You look into the mirror at 5:30 in the morning and see yourself having aged 10 years in 2 weeks. Which usually makes you think maybe people shouldn't see me today. But when you walk up this hill and when you enter the ISC offices, you see 30 more old and tired faces like yours. And these 30 faces all have the same determination, anticipation, combined with a lovely smile. And that is your family. That is your energy and your boost that brings you to the finish line. The finish line for us, the 48th ISC team, is tonight.